Welcome to another edition of True Crime Undercover. I'm your host, A-Train, and I am joined by everyone's favorite Sasquatch lookalike, Super E.
What's up, A-Train?
Not too much. How are you today?
I'm just out here in the middle of nowhere, and it's real dreary.
It is. It's very gloomy.
Yes.
A lot of rain. Yep.
Yes, and the cows must be mating season for my neighbors' cows because they're all mooing real loud.
Okay, well, you said mating season for your neighbors. I was like, holy shit.
No, my neighbors' cows.
Okay. And I do want to warn the listeners, you might hear a noise in the background of Super E's palatial estate. He's got a young rooster that seems to be pretty vocal today.
Yeah, he's only like about a month old, but he's starting to feel his oats.
Okay. All right. Starting to strut around and do his thing.
He's the cock of the walk.
That's what you used to say about yourself. But yes.
Yes. Past tense, of course.
Of course. Now we're just old men.
Yeah. Because you know what? I'll give you an example. I was calling my bank because I wanted to do some sort of pay by phone thing, and she asked me what kind of phone I had, and I said, well, it's an asteroid. And she was real confused, the woman she goes, asteroid? She goes, do you mean Android? And I was like, oh my God, am I dead?
You're Joe Biden. You called your phone an asteroid.
Yeah, hey, come on, man. It's an asteroid phone. It's the best.
I'm not lying.
But, yeah, exactly.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Well, what do you got for us today?
Well, today, A-Train, a lot of people always ask me, were you afraid when you did all these undercover buys or picking up prostitutes or just whatever you were doing? And, generally a lot of times I didn't even think about it when I was making hand-to-hand drug buys or doing something undercover. But there were a few times where I was like, holy shit, freaked out, or like, man, I'm about to do something scary. I got to have my wits about me.
Right.
And, I thought maybe the shit can go down. And I'm just going to do these very briefly.
Okay.
Okay, one that happened, I was a case agent, and I was watching a female officer and one of my informants. They were just making like a marijuana buy, a couple hundred, half a pound of marijuana buy.
Okay.
Something like that. And it was up in the area of 42nd and Post. And I always thought that was a ritzy area.
Not so
wrong.
much. Yeah, you were wrong, dude.
By 1993, I was 180 degrees wrong. It was like a hellhole of violence.
Yeah.
So this dude was supposed to come out. He's told him to park on the side of this village pantry. They still have village pantries then. Park on the side of the village pantry. So the young female officer doing the undercover was driving, and the informant was sitting next to her. Okay. And he was a big, tall guy. And the drug dealer comes out from behind the building out of nowhere, and we're watching. We're like, holy shit, there he is. And we could hear her on her little transmitting device. Mm-hmm. He walks up and goes, are you two the police? Are you the police? They would always say that. And if they thought you were an informant, they'd ask you if you was the police.
Right.
Are you the police? And she goes, no, we're not the police. And out of nowhere, this guy, the drug dealer, whips out this giant sword and places it right at her throat.
What?
And goes, are you sure you're not the police? And we're like, all of us like, holy shit, the guy's got a sword. And he's got it up to her neck. And she was real calm. She goes, no, we're not the police. You can put the sword down. He's like the Three Musketeers. And so he puts the sword down and then walks behind the building, gets the half pound of weed or and sold it to him. And we're all still hyperventilating. She goes, oh, thanks. Here's your money. Take it easy. And I was like, holy, I thought she was going to die. by a sword.
A sword.
You know,
what is sword. You're buying dope in the Middle Ages? What in the hell?
Yes, that's what I thought. We know was this Lancelot was selling weed? But I mean, that's the kind of stuff that could happen. You never knew. What was going to happen.
Oh yeah. I bet you were shit in the bed watching that.
I was, and then when she came back, I was like, oh, thank God. But she played it really cool.
Yeah.
And then that wasn't one. And then of course, when I was doing the search warrant on that house, 330 Northeastern Avenue, the infamous 330 Northeastern Avenue.
Is this where you got shot?
Yeah, it's where I got. I mean, remember we talked about it before. I had the premonition.
Yes.
So everybody else was kind of freaked out because they had like 30 complaints. Hey, these guys are selling drugs from the citizens. They wanted something done about this place.
Right.
And I just happened to have a search warrant for it, so it was kind of like, hey, let's go do it now. And I got 10 officers in uniform, and we had 10 undercover detectives. And as soon as everybody runs to the door and everybody's all frenetic, but I was just like, I think I'm gonna get shot today, and I was just like oddly calm.
Mm-hmm.
And when Big Steve, I say, police, search warrant, police. And then you wait a second, and boom, Steve hits the door, and I knew he was going to blast it open because he's, a gigantic.
Yeah, he's not small.
Monolith of a man.
He's not small.
No. And when I run in there, I didn't look to, I just saw a guy in front of me. If my eyesight wouldn't have been on him, I would have saw. I think they had like 20 guns just laying around, and he just grabbed one.
Holy moly!
Yeah. And they were playing video games. And then somehow I knew there was a guy in front of me. Didn't see him. I just sensed there was two guys. And so it happened like within seconds, but it seemed like an eternity. I felt like I was running 50 yards after him and then 20 yards to the right. And actually I was running 8 feet to the hallway, 4 feet to the bedroom.
Right.
And so I saw the bedroom door was a little ajar. And I was like, man, I have a feeling he's hiding in that room somewhere. But in your head, when you do these maybe 300 or 400 times, they're either dumping it down the toilet or going out the window.
Right.
And your first instinct is to get into that bedroom as quick as possible to get to the bathroom to keep him from dumping the dope. But I was like, hold your horses. Something's not right. The hairs on my neck were sticking up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I slowly opened that door, and my gun was out.
Right.
It was on my right. Down. I was right-handed. It's on my side, and it was, pointed just in case a threat came out of nowhere. And guess what? A threat came out of nowhere. He was like, when I slowly opened the door, I didn't know it, but he was to the right of me with his back up against the wall, and he rolled to his left and stuck the gun right in my face. And all I had time to think was, holy shit. And then, boom, the first round went off. Boom, the second round went off. He had it pointed at my head. He missed the first one, which would have been eye level, which I think on the right side of my head. And then he pulled it. He pulled on the trigger too hard.
Yeah.
Because they watch like Snoop Dogg videos, and everybody has it to the side or whatever. He pulled too hard on it, and it pulled it down to my right shoulder. And it went past my bulletproof vest, because the bulletproof vest is like a tank top.
Yeah.
And it just went clean through. And I was like, did he shoot me? Because here's what I saw. When I saw him, when he turned and pointed the gun directly in my face, he looked like he was very angry. Mm-hmm. His face, the expression on his face was angry. Mm-hmm. And I could smell the smoke from the gun.
Right.
And then it's like, I thought, did he shoot me? I didn't know. Did he shoot me? Did he not shoot me? And I said, I don't really feel pain, but in my brain, I think I knew I'd been shot because it just kind of burned a little bit. It wasn't painful, but I just knew something wasn't right. But you're like your brain trying to talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, where did he go? What he did was he rolled to his left, shot me, and then he hid behind the door that was partially open. So when I pushed the door all the way open to my left, he's standing there, kind of crouched in a combat position with the gun pointed right at me. He had a little semi-automatic, I think it was a 9mm Ruger or something like that. And I looked at him, I go, holy shit, there he is. And I think what saved me was he was stunned that I was still standing upright.
Right.
Because he thought he shot me twice in the face.
Right.
He didn't know. He missed the first time and hit me in the shoulder. So when I saw that gun pointed at me, I just started shooting.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to shoot until the threat is eliminated.
Yeah.
He stood there and looked at me, and I think he was stunned. And, I'm shooting at him, but he's moving a little bit. He doesn't fall down. He's moving. Nothing. He doesn't scream out, "Oh, I've been shot," or he doesn't fly backwards like you see in the movies.
You're right.
He's like, I stood and looked at him being shot. He was standing and looking at me.
Yeah.
After he got shot. He doesn't fall down, so I continue to shoot because he's still standing there pointing a gun at me. And then as I'm shooting, here's what my brain's thinking. It's not like, oh my God, you're going to get killed. My brain's thinking, holy crap, man, I'm in a gunfight. They're going to crucify me in the papers. And that's what was going through my head. Oh my God, this is going to be hard on my family.
It isn't that ridiculous.
Yes,
a man tried to shoot you in the face, hit you in the shoulder, and in the middle of that gunfight, you're worried about what
the media reaction.
Exactly.
I'm worried about how this is going to affect my family,
right,
and all this.
Right.
And so then he slams the door in my face, and he still has. I was told I hit him 5 times.
Okay.
Didn't knock him down. He ran and dove through a window, and he fell into the arms of the backup officers I had placed there. And then that was okay. I wasn't scared. I was just startled, and I was taken aback, of course, about being shot, but by the anger in his face. That was something I'll never forget. And the worst thing, the whole thing about that was, it was like you're worried about what's it going to be like in court, how hard it. And I didn't know how close I came to death. So I really wasn't afraid about that. I was afraid how my family was going to react to this. Until 2 weeks later, when I go to the doctor, because it was a clean through shot. So basically, once they bandaged me up, I was okay. But two weeks later, I had to go to this doctor, and it was a female, and she's very, very nice, very attractive. And I was like, well, this is a bonus, a very attractive doctor.
Right.
And she told me, she goes, has anybody told you yet? And I go, what? Of course, you're lucky to be alive, but that bullet came within less than a quarter of an inch of that artery that runs through your shoulder. And she says, if it would have just barely grazed it, you would have took a step back and died. Man. And that's when I was like, holy shit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so that was, I was startled. And then a few months later, another one.
What? I don't know that I realized that the first shot he took at you was eye level.
I was looking dead at the gun. That
it just went by your head. I didn't realize that. Holy crap.
And I think that what happened then affected what happened to me maybe 4 or 5 months later.
Okay.
I was introduced to some hillbilly, and people were buying crack from his house. And what this guy did, we're going to say his name was Willie. Willie, he would let the drug dealers sell from inside his house. Not just one drug dealer, but multiple drug dealers. And then he would get free dope that way.
Okay.
And so an informant introduces me to Willie and says, hey, this guy, Ray, he's a cool guy. He's probably going to come back again and buy dope. And so this Willie guy's, okay, that's cool. So the next day, I go by myself without the informant. And this Willie comes outside, and he says, hey, some guy named, his nickname was Black. He goes, hey, Black's in there waiting on you, and he knows you want $100. I said, okay. What Willie failed to tell me was Black was in the back part of the house, and another drug dealer was in the front part of the house selling. Okay. And he wasn't expecting me. So I go trouncing in there. I walk in there. I go, hey, man, what's up? And the guy wasn't expecting anybody to all of a sudden to come out of nowhere, a stranger.
Right.
And he looks at me, and I can see this panic on his face. And I'm like, what? I said, hey, man, what's the deal? I said, I got my 100 here. I want it bagged a certain way. I just said something like that.
Right.
Because he had it all. He was like, he had it all out, and he was bagging it up. I said, well, I want mine bagged a certain way. And he goes, are you cool? I said, yeah. My mom thinks I'm cool. Yeah. I said, yeah, I'm cool. I went to the wrong dope dealer. My guy who's expecting me is in the back. This is a guy who doesn't know me. He's scared to death.
Right.
He immediately picks up a gun, a revolver. I think it was like a 38, and he points it directly at me. Okay, again, I'm a foot from him. He's sitting down. He's got it pointed at my face.
Yeah.
And from that other shooting that just happened a few months earlier, as he's pointing the gun at me, asking me if I'm cool, I see an imaginary bullet come out of that gun, come right at me. It was the most bizarre thing in the world. Come at me and hit me in the shoulder, in my right shoulder that had been shot previously. I flinched back.
Really?
And he was like even more scared. His hand starts shaking, his gun hand. And I'm like, man, I got to how do you say it? I got to get myself out of this situation.
Extricate.
Yes. Extricate myself from this situation. So as his gun's shaking more and more, like Don Knotts and the shakiest gun in the West,
right?
I look at him and I say, hey, dude, the way your gun hand's shaking, I'm going to go outside and wait on my dope. And then as I walk outside, now I'm kind of thinking like, I literally felt like, man, I dodged the bullet on that.
Yeah, literally.
And I had my transmitting device. It was in a secret area because I had no shirt on.
Right.
And in that secret area, it was burning things up. And I could hear, because this was before manscaping. And batteries make things burn. So it was like, I smell burning hair. And I was like, oh, so I kind of bent over. I bent over so they could hear me. I go, hey, guys, there's a dude with a gun in here. He's pointing it at me. I know we might want to get ready to come on in and get this guy. All of a sudden, this guy, he comes bursting out of the front door.
Yeah.
And he's got the gun in his hand, and he looks at me. He looks at me like I'm the monster. He's so scared of me because he doesn't know me, and he takes off. He runs to his car. And I'm like, well, he's running to his car. He's getting in his car. He's driving away. And I didn't see anything. And so I found out later, we couldn't hear you. Oh, that's right. The piece of shit transmitting devices suck.
Yes.
And then Willie comes out and goes, hey, Ray, what you doing standing outside? And I go, oh, well, Willie, it might be due to the fact that the fucking dope dealer's pointing a gun at me and shaking more than ghost shit in cans. And he goes, oh, Ray, he might have thought you were a CI because that wasn't Black. That was another guy. I said, well, a little heads up would have been okay.
Yes, please direct me to the correct drug dealer.
Yeah, so what Willie did is he took my money and he went in there and got the dope and come back out and handed it to me. So
and this all happened just a couple months after getting shot.
Yes.
So
yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And then the next day I was going to go buy again, and this time I was going to make sure I bought from the right dope dealer.
Yes.
As we're going, as I'm getting I'm getting out of my car to walk up to the house. They say, I hear on my radio, they go, Super E, abort. I go, why? Willie, there's been a shooting in the house. Willie's been shot dead in the chest because we didn't know this. Right after I did my buy, the next day, another unit, the small district drug unit, because, we had the entire city drug unit, which is us, and then we had them, broke down into 4 separate vice narcotics districts.
Right.
So that's right. So the next day, they do a search warrant on the place and don't tell us. And I don't know what happened, but apparently they didn't get the drug dealer or whatever, because then right after that, they thought Willie had snitched on him. And so I went 2 days later for a follow-up buy, and right before I started walking up to the house, boom, they shot Willie dead in the chest.
Holy moly.
Yeah, I almost walked into that.
Well, I got to tell you something. I'm pretty impressed you went back after I might have just said, nah, you know what, somebody else can do this, or let's just close this case out.
Exactly. So, again, at the time, I'm walking in thinking, okay, this is going to go smooth. This guy's expecting me.
All right.
And then lo and behold, I walk right into where a guy's cutting up dope who has no idea that I'm coming in.
Man.
I wish Willie would have gave him a heads up. And boom, now I got a gun in my face, and now I got to think. I was startled and I was scared, but you have to throw that out and go. You got to make sure you come out of this alive. You got to start thinking on your feet.
Right. Stay tuned for the next episode of Super E Puckers Part 2.